The Laser RCW is a pretty iconic weapon from Fallout New Vegas. I would consider it one of the staples for that sandbox. It's a laser Tommy gun. It doesn't really get more Fallout than that. Now, while this is not only a beacon of science fiction coolness in Fallout New Vegas, it's also an often requested mod for Fallout 4. Fallout 4 didn't launch with an RCW, or many of the weapons from New Vegas' sandbox for that matter, but yet the RCW is one that I see requested for time after time, even though we already have a ton of RCW mods on the Nexus. I remember a time when Mike Moore's was the only one available, but since then we've gotten quite a few. And yet, we still made one. That's right, the Commonwealth Weaponry team has made a Laser RCW. Now why? There's so many already. Matter of fact, Alex, one of the people who helped make this, already made one of his own. Because this time around, we did it right. We're bringing something that no other RCW mod has currently, and that is the correct animations. One in which you pull out the Electron Charge Pack from the big drum, and the drum doesn't come with it. A lot of people have compromised with the design for Fallout 4 and opting to remove the entire drum or maybe add some sort of a stick mag. We decided against that. We were able to get a hold of an animator, and we were able to make the correct decision. Thanks to the wonderful MacDonald for making this absolutely amazing animation set for us that comes not only with the standard reload that you would expect from Fallout New Vegas, but also some other goodies that I can't wait to talk about, including some fun little things that just make this weapon shine a little bit more than it might have in Fallout New Vegas. That, along with our normal amounts of customization options, tons of really cool barrels, stocks, optics, all that fun stuff, in ways that we tried to make sense on a energy weapon like this. Additionally, there's some more fun new stuff that we haven't really thrown into any of our mods previously, including a new treasure hunt that involves going to some new locations and fighting some new enemies, so that is pretty dang fun. Now, let's start talking about this weapon more as it is in-game. This thing is, of course, a full auto energy weapon, and it is full auto only, meaning you will only get upgrades from the full auto perks. It has a whole bunch of new attachments over at the weapons workbench. Of course, like I said, custom animations. All of the models and textures are made completely from scratch. It is going to have a leveled-less integration, so this thing will actually spawn out in the world. Specifically, if you would like to get your hands on this weapon, you can find this thing on the Gunners, Brotherhood of Steel, as it was featured on them in New Vegas, the Triggermen, and the Rust Devils, because this weapon does require Automatron DLC to function. We went ahead and added it to their list to make more use of that DLC since we were going to have to require it anyways. And you can of course purchase it from vendors as well, and all of these things will start happening after level 17. There is exactly one unique available in this mod, but it's pretty in-depth how you get it, and it has some really fun features that make it very, very special. So I can't wait to show you that. We'll actually do the whole treasure hunt in this video, so you'll get a nice little spoiler, and for those of you who are having trouble finding the locations, you'll have this as a guide as well. One last thing to mention is that this mod, of course, requires munitions. Now, I know there are a handful of munitions haters out there for some reason. This weapon requires electron charge packs in New Vegas, and since we're trying to do it right with the right animations, it would feel like a disservice to not give it electron charge packs in Fallout 4. Opting for the microfusion cell just isn't what we want to do. If you want that for your game, that's great. You can edit this as much as you'd like. I'm sure there's already a patch for that out there somewhere, but for me, it doesn't sit right reloading a microfusion cell when it should be an electron charge pack. Red is way cooler than yellow anyways. So, like I said, munitions required on our page, but if somebody has a version without it, that is perfectly fine. Download that if that's what you want. Support those authors who are making patches by all means necessary. Now then, there's a lot to get into in the actual in-game stuff. Talk about stats, talk about attachments, and go hunt down that unique. So let's go ahead and do that. Let's hop in-game and start checking out some of the really cool stuff available in this mod. So for starters, let's talk about the stats for this weapon. This thing has a base damage of 15. That is going to be doubled for me because I do have all of the perks. This is going to be a pretty standard configuration. Now, standard in quotes because this is standard for New Vegas. This is the exact recreation with all of our attachments to make the New Vegas version. However, the more basic version in our mod might look a little different. You might see a smaller magazine and a smaller stock and maybe a different barrel, but you'll find this thing in all kinds of configurations because our mod collections have all kinds of variants and even randomized variants that enemies can spawn with, so keep that in mind. But we're going to go off of the New Vegas version. If you opt to run this thing exactly like it was in the classic style, this thing is going to have a base damage of 15, uses those electron charge packs, has a fire rate of 113 in full auto, a range of 179, an accuracy of 74, a weight of 11.1 pounds for this massive piece of steel and wood, and a value of 116 caps. And I have to say, I'm pretty happy with how this model came out. This thing looks really, really cool. Those of you who are putting this thing under a microscope might notice one big difference, and that is that this muzzle here is red instead of green. And there is a reason for that. You'll also notice that these two holes here are filled in with green instead of being a typical black, and that's because we added a really cool feature that makes this thing pretty dang fun. Now, as for the muzzle device, we'll get into that more in the attachment section, but you can upgrade the lasers using the muzzle devices, and doing so changes the color of the projectile and the color of the muzzle device. So when you fully upgrade this thing, it actually shoots green to go more with the style of the rest of the gun, which has a lot of glowing green bits in the original game. And as for the glowing bits back here, those actually deplete and turn a different color whenever you fire the weapon, and it'll recharge by the time the next shot is ready. So as you're shooting it, you'll see it be flashing lights the whole time, and that's really, really cool. Super sci-fi and just looks awesome. Adds a whole lot of dynamic stuff to this gun when you're using it. Now, let's go ahead and talk about animations. So then, let's talk animations. We are lucky enough to have a completely custom suite of animations for this weapon, thanks to, once again, our wonderful MacDonald. He is absolutely amazing. Now, let's go ahead and talk about not only the custom animations, but we'll also go over some sounds and some fun new projectiles, and even another thing that we're going to be bringing back from New Vegas. We'll start off with the more basic variant, though, which is going to have pretty similar to the standard laser rifle sounds, but, of course, a brand new custom reload. Absolutely beautiful, isn't it? What a wonderful reload, and if you didn't notice, we also have the little cells here on the drum spinning as you fire. And you can see the lights changing colors there on the receiver as well. What a fun touch to make this weapon extra special. I believe that was intended in the original design or something like that, but either way, it is a really, really cool addition. Now let's talk about some of the other things we've added. For starters, we'll go over one of the other muzzles here we have available, which is the Magnetron muzzle. This changes it from a laser beam into a small projectile. Think of like a Star Wars bolt. And we also have another addition here, which is the Recycler, which is an attachment we brought over from New Vegas. It doesn't look quite the same, but it functions the same. As you fire this thing, it will occasionally throw some extra cells into your reserve ammo. So if you watch the ammo counter on the bottom right of the screen as I fire this thing, you'll notice we'll get some ammo back as we're shooting. Much like New Vegas, it is scripted to be one in every few shots, so as you fire, you will get some of that ammo back. A small amount, but it makes it last a whole lot longer when you're firing something like this, which has a way of just depleting your ammo capacity very, very fast. Now, we also have another cool thing to show off here, which is something you don't see too often, but a lot of people ask for, and that is a constant beam projectile. Which I've got to say is just freaking cool. That's all there is to show off here. This is one of our other drums, but that constant beam is just awesome. Super cool. One of the other things I wanted to talk about was the changing projectile colors. Now, every projectile you just saw and every projectile you will see is available not only in that reddish orange, but also in green. And that's going to be the fully upgraded version, the improved muzzles, if you will, in vanilla terms. So that's how that works. Pretty cool. And then one of the last things we have to show is our two new features. The stealth projectile for this weapon. People often ask for suppressors or silencers for laser weapons, and that doesn't usually make a lot of sense, but we came up with an obfuscation lens, which makes the lasers a little bit harder to see, providing a somewhat of a stealth bonus. And also, as you can see, we don't have a drum anymore. This is one of the other additions we have here, which is going to be the, in quotes, stick mag reload, where you just plop the electron charge pack directly into the gun with no extended battery drum or anything like that. So let's go ahead and check that out as well. super, super cool stuff. I'm very glad that Mac gave us that as well. What a wonderful addition to this mod. As if the original animations weren't enough, you get an extra animation that looks really cool as well. And who knows, we might be able to repurpose that in the future for more energy weapons in sort of this rifle configuration. I think that would be really cool. Now then, a big fat spoiler warning for those of you who do not want to know anything about the unique. Skip ahead now to the weapons workbench section. We're going to be talking about the one unique in this mod, and it may not look super unique from this menu here. It looks like just a modified version of the RCW, but trust me, there is a unique visual component that we'll get to in just a second. I'm waiting for all of those who don't want to know. I assume they're gone by now. Let's go ahead and talk about it. We have the prototype GB84 particle thrower. This weapon is going to have unlimited ammo capacity. You can see 2 recyclers mounted, one to the front and one to the back. But also, if we go ahead and equip this guy, it does have one wonderful extra feature, which is going to be a functioning backpack whenever you equip it. Now, it is a little weird. Whenever you unequip the weapon, it goes away. That's how the script is running. But when you have this thing equipped and out, not only does it play a really cool little sound effect, it equips an entire backpack that is wired up to the gun in a pretty weird way, but it does work with the armor set. Isn't that just cool? So the idea is this gigantic battery is storing all of that wonderful energy for this energy weapon, giving you an unlimited ammo capacity, at least in terms of the magazine. Obviously, you still need to find electron charge packs to keep this thing going, but you'll never have to reload, which is nice. And in its default configuration, it comes with a wonderful green continuous beam. And boy, is it fun. Now let's go find this thing. So to get our quest started, much like it says on the mod page, you're going to need to head over to the edge of the glowing sea. And we're going to be looking for the body of a dead gunner. From the spawn point of that fast travel, you just head down the road a little bit here. As we make our way down the road, you'll have to excuse the awful weather, we will find here a dead gunner who is reaching for some Rataway. That Rataway will probably look different in your game, but for me it's a little syringe. If we search this body, not only will we find the standard loot of a gunner, he actually had a pretty cool 12.7 pistol there, look at that. We'll also find the gunner's glowing sea cave map. Let's go ahead and take a read of that item there. If we find that map, we will see a note and a drawing. Found this weird cave over in the glowing sea. Sent my team in, but they didn't come back. Brass might want to send over a bigger squad to clear this place out. It's just northwest of some military bunker. Took a lot of rads trying to draw this picture of it. Better be worth it. And clearly, it wasn't for him because he did not make it out of the glowing sea. But for us, we have a wonderful new note and a drawing of where this is located, with a hint that it is northwest of a military bunker. Well, in the glowing sea, there's only one military bunker that comes to mind off the top of my head, and that is the Federal Supply Cache. So let's go ahead and head over there. So once you've spawned in here at the Federal Supply Cache, you're going to want to take a right and start heading up this, I guess we could call it a pathway, sort of a little crevice in the terrain. And if you head over here, just to the left, this is to the northwest, just like it was described, we'll find a position that looks pretty dang similar to the drawing. We have the big antennas to the left and the cave to the right. And no, this cave is not here in vanilla. This is a brand new location, as I have been learning a little bit of level design. We talked about that in the last video. Well, it's really come to fruition here with a brand new place to go into. If we head inside of the strange cave, we're going to find a whole new location full of whole new enemies. There is Larry, as well as Mo. Of course, Curly. And our biggest foe, the crazed scientist here, who... Uh-oh, I don't have stim packs. Okay. Forgot to hotkey those after the showcase. As well as a crazed scientist who built all of these crazy robots. And as you can see from the weapon he was shooting at us, a constant green beam. He was, of course, equipped with the prototype GB84 particle thrower. And that's how you get it. A little bit about this place. If you saw in the note, his team never came back. That's because they didn't make it far into the cave. And there is also some lore here, which I don't want to take up the whole video reading that, but if you want it, there is a terminal here talking about the scientist's adventures in making this crazy contraption, as well as ending up in this cave where he has his crazy little den where he's been doing chems and making robots. So, fun stuff if you're interested in that kind of thing, but if you're not, I'm not going to waste your time. Now then, of course, we need to talk about attachments over at the weapons workbench, of which there are a lot. You can see some pretty crazy configurations I already have here that make use of some really fun and cool inspired sci-fi attachments. We tried to grab a little bit from everywhere, so stay tuned, we've got a whole lot to talk about. The capacitor section is pretty simple, pretty much mirrors what you would see in vanilla, but of course coming in full auto only. For barrels, we have an option for a short barrel, which is inspired from the Wolfenstein SMG. We have the standard barrel, which is of course the regular old RCW. A light barrel, which is supposed to mirror the Fallout Van Buren sort of laser RCW rifle thing. I'm not too familiar, that was more of Alex's department. Then we have an accelerated barrel, which has a fun little heat shield and a cool built-in vertical grip. Something I did forget to mention is that we do have vertical grip animations in here. And this one comes with one attached. The heavy barrel also has one with a nice sleek wood design, and these glowing bits here all actually do emit light, so if you have an ENB on and you look at this thing at night, or even just reload the gun in first person, it looks super, super cool. And then a recoil compensating barrel, which is going to be a pretty standard barrel, but with that cool front grip here with the vertical grip design, sort of mirroring the classic Thompson, but still has that sci-fi design and the heat shield. Pretty cool looking stuff. For stocks, we have the option for no stock whatsoever. We also have no stock and a plastic grip if you want to get even more lightweight. Then we have the full version of that stock and the full version of the lightweight stock as well in all plastic. I didn't really want plastic here, but it does make for a cool design when you pair this with all of the Van Buren stuff, so it was worth keeping. We have a skeletal stock, which looks really cool. A gunslinger stock, which you normally only see on our shotguns, but in this case, it holds extra electron charge packs so that you get an increased reload speed. We have an eco stock as well, which is going to give you a little bit of a boost to your magazine capacity, offering some extra charge here in the back with the attached fusion core, which looks pretty freaking cool. I like having the continuous wire that goes all the way through the gun, and if you throw a recycler on, it goes even further. It's like it's all connected into one big machine. Then for the magazine section, we do have a handful of options. We have the linear power converter, which is our stick mag. It's the smallest capacity with the fastest reload. A dynamic power converter, which is that Van Buren box modified to accept our electron charge packs. And then the high capacity drum is our typical old RCW drum. And then the recycler is that drum with an extra add-on on the back, which allows you to recycle some extra batteries into your magazine. For optics, we have the standard old iron sights. We have a glow version of those sights as well, of course. We have a reflex sight, a hollow sight, a micro dot sight, a micro hollow sight, a micro reflex sight, a laser sight, a scope, a brand new night vision scope built for this weapon, and a recon scope, which is going to be a repurposed version of the classic recon scope from Fallout New Vegas, which looks really, really cool on this weapon. I gotta say, I actually like how that came out. Now, as I'm recording this, which is sort of like a week in advance of when you're seeing it, it currently does have this reflex and hollow, but it may just get updated with some redesigned versions of those that we are actually working on. By now, they're pretty much already done, and by the time this video comes out, they will be out on our next weapon mod. So if they're not already in this weapon, you'll at least get to see them on our next gun, which I guess it's, well, I'm not going to spoil it. Either way, you might get some new sights updated for this mod. You might not. We'll see if we decide to do that. Now then, for the muzzles, we have the standard beam lens, which is your typical red laser beam. The beam magnetron is going to give you those little tiny projectiles that are separate. They do more damage, but they are slower, so it's a bit of a trade-off. The obfuscation lens is essentially a laser suppressor, but I don't like to think of it that way. It is the stealth option for this weapon, though. And then the beam focuser makes that constant beam that's always going, you know, And then we have improved versions of each of those with the improved beam lens featuring the green projectile, the amplified beam magnetron, the calaminated beam obfuscation lens, and the tuned beam focuser, all of which have green instead of red, which is really fun. It sort of follows a Mech Warrior thing. Don't worry about it. If you know, you know. If not, then who cares? And finally, we have accessories. We have the set option for no accessory here. The flashlight mounted on the front. Bottom, the Recon laser, which is a new laser model that we did make for our next weapon, but decided to backport to this. And a VATS targeting module. So if you want a laser light or a VATS boost, those are all available on this weapon, but I like running this thing pretty stock because I just love New Vegas so much. So yeah, guys, that is the Laser RCW, an extraordinarily long video compared to our normal stuff because we had quite a treasure hunt to go down, and there's just so much good stuff packed into this mod. A lot more animations to talk about and all the fun little projectiles. Energy weapons are just cool like that. I don't do them often, but when we do them, we try to treat them as special as we can, and the RCW is one that we really wanted to focus on, which is why we spent a bit of a longer dev cycle on it than we normally do. And we also got out that fun merchant mod in between. So now we have a really wonderful energy weapon. I hope you guys enjoy it, and I hope you enjoy any of the mods that we're going to have coming out pretty soon. If you do enjoy the mod, consider dropping it an endorsement over on the Nexus. It really helps us out, and it lets us know what kind of weapons you guys like to see. And it's a completely free way to support the mod. Similarly, you can like this video or subscribe if you haven't already to support the video for free if you like what I'm doing here on YouTube, showcasing my mods and of course doing those mod roundups, monthlies or weeklies, whatever I do, to cover other people's wonderful contributions to the modding scene. If, however, you are looking for a more direct way to support my work, if you truly are a fan of what I do, the best way you can do that is over on my Patreon. It will be linked down in the description below, but of course that is something that is completely optional. It is not something you should do unless you completely want to and you are able to do so. Otherwise, don't even consider it. That is just there for those of you who want to. With that, I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and of course I hope you enjoyed the mod, and I hope to see you all in the next one. Peace!